starter is nice and full. You can see it looks like it probably got up to about here and it's starting to fall again. So sometimes you can tell, you'll see streaks down the sides of the jar. So you can tell it's starting to kind of fall back down. So this is around peak, which is good. That's what we want, because that's when your starter is the strongest, when it's at the peak. So I'm going to be doing a sourdough bread with olive oil. So if you add olive oil to your sourdough recipe, it keeps the bread softer. It still gives you that nice crispy top, but it's not quite as hard as just a plain sourdough. So it gives it a really nice softer bread and softer crust to it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a double loaf, 250 grams of starter. So I have my kitchen scale under here. I'm going to set it to grams. See, oops, that's more, but that's okay. That's all right. Like I said, the upside to sourdough, you guys, is it's very forgiving. So I'm just going to stick my lid back on. Since this is already risen, I can tighten it down. This is going to go back in the refrigerator. I do not refeed mine when I put it back in the fridge. I just stick it back in like this and then pull it out next week or next time I go to bake, and I feed her and she's happy as can be. So then 80 grams of extra virgin olive oil. Okay. And then 600 grams of water. I'm also going to add my salt. Some people like to add their salt afterwards, after they get their flour in and incorporated. I don't. I like to add mine at this point so that I make sure that it completely dissolves and is good all the way through the dough. That's just me. You do it however you want to do it. So 20 grams of salt. There we go. Perfect. Use just regular sea salt, finely ground sea salt. You can use whatever you want in it. So then you're going to mix this up. If you can get a bread whisk, I think it's a Danish bread whisk is what they're called. It makes it super, super easy to whisk these up. I also use it for all kinds of other things, so it's a really good all-around whisk. You're going to add your flour. So this is going to be 900 grams of flour. I use all-purpose flour, organic, unbleached blend, so from Costco. I picked this up. I get 2 of these for, I think it's $16. And it lasts me a nice good amount of time. So 900 grams. You can do bread flour, you can do all-purpose flour. If you want to do wheat flour, you can do wheat flour. If you do wheat flour, make sure that you find a good recipe for it, because wheat flour will soak up and take a lot more water than regular white flour will. So you're just going to keep stirring this until you get it all incorporated. I will tell you that with the olive oil in there, you're going to see kind of little patches of oil, which is fine. Don't freak out. It's not that it's not incorporating and you're going to have oily spots in your bread or anything like that. It will incorporate more as you do your stretch and folds and as it rises. Okay, so I just keep doing this. Now I will get to a point here where I clean off my whisk, my dough whisk, and just go in with the fingers to finish getting the rest of that flour incorporated. You can also use like a bench scraper, like one of the plastic bench scrapers, the plastic scrapers. That works too. A lot of people use that. All right, so what you're going to be left with at the end is a big shaggy dough. Okay, just like that. This is going to rest on the counter for an hour. That way the flour soaks up all of that water. So it's going to be easier to do your stretch and folds. So we will be back in an hour to start our stretch and folds. Okay, so first set of stretch and folds, you pull up from the back side and just flip it over onto itself. As you can see, there's still spots of oil. They're going to incorporate. So put your shower cap back on. It sits for another 30 minutes. And second set of stretch and folds, you're going to just keep doing this every 30 minutes, about 3 or 4 times. So until it gets nice and taut and that gluten starts to develop. Shower cap back on, another 30 minutes. And one last time for the stretch and folds. And my phone fell out of my stand, so I had to do this one-handed. So as soon as the last stretch and fold is done, you're going to cover it back up with your plastic or however you want to do it. You just have to make sure that you get something that's going to keep that moisture in so it doesn't dry out on the top. So this is going to sit on the counter overnight until it's nearly doubled in size. Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. So I was going to wear my microphone this morning, but I went to put it on and it's blinking at me, telling me that it needs to be charged. So that's not going to happen. So sourdough is ready. It's completely proof. So it just needs to be shaped and put in the refrigerator. So I'm just sanitizing my countertop here so that it's nice and clean for everybody. I want to make sure though that it's very dry so that it doesn't stick. Right, so here she is. She's all nice and bubbly and pretty. She doesn't stick to my fingers, which is good. She's nice and jiggly. You can see all the bubbles. She's so pretty. Smells really good. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I use rice flour to sprinkle my countertops with and my bannetons because it doesn't do what regular flour does. It doesn't get all gummy when it gets wet, and I don't want to be adding flour to my dough, and I don't want it sticking. So I use rice flour. You can get that on Amazon. So we're just going to pour this out and let it kind of fall out on its own. So with a good proof, it usually does a pretty good job of falling out on its own. Now, I will tell you this. There you go, see? There's a little bit left in there. I will tell you this. If you happen to overproof it a little bit, it's fine. It's fine. I tell everybody, always bake. Always bake it off. I forgot my bench scraper. But always bake your loaf. Even if you want to turn it into focaccia, fine, cool, great. That's a really easy way to use overproofed dough. If you guys want, I can do a video on focaccia and show you how to do that. It's super simple. Hold on, I gotta go get my scale. Okay, so I just want to make sure that I get these even. These loaves. Let me see how much is here in the first place. About 900 each is what I'm gonna want. So we're just gonna cut this in half here. So, but as I was saying, so in this one I am gonna do 1 bowl and 1 petard. So that means I'm going to do one round one and one like a loaf of bread. You know, honestly, guys, it's really not a huge deal if you want to go ahead. If you accidentally overproof your bread, it's fine. It's not going to be that big a deal. Always just bake it off. Always just bake it. Even if you just bake it for the heck of it and see kind of how your loaves go. This is getting a little bit sticky. I'm probably overworking it. That's okay. It's all right. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. All right, so I'm going to stick this in my petard one. This is going to get a shower cap over the top of it. Really, you guys, like I said before, and I've said over and over again, sourdough is extremely forgiving. So honestly, it's hard to mess it up. Now, with that said, it is a little tricky at first until you get to know sourdough and kind of how it works and how your particular environment works with sourdough, because everybody's house is different in terms of temperatures, in terms of humidity, things like that. And so once you figure out what works best for your particular situation, your home, your kitchen, it may take a little bit of time on a learning curve, but you'll be fine. You'll figure it out and it'll be easy peasy. Okay, so I'm going to do my trifolds here. This one's going to be the bowl, which is the round one. But keep doing it, keep trying. It took me probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 loaves before I finally got something that looked really good and was edible. But you can do it. It just takes a little time and a little bit of practice. So, all right, so we're gonna flip this over onto its head. I'm gonna let these sit on the counter for about 20 minutes to half an hour. Let them kind of rest a little bit, and then I'm gonna come back and kind of cinch them up just to make sure that they're not spreading apart on the bottom. And then I will stick them in the refrigerator for roughly 24 hours. I'll probably bake them tomorrow morning after I get up and have my coffee. So anyway, if anybody has any other questions, I know about baking and proofing and things like that, which is not I'm not a professional, you guys. I've just been doing this now for about 1.5 years, and I've learned a lot on the way, and I absolutely love it. So if you guys have any questions on sourdough, I'm not a baker. I'm not a baker other than sourdough. But I will answer anything that I can. So I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. Be safe, because it's supposed to get extremely cold tomorrow and for a couple of days after that. So be safe. Stay inside if you can. If not, make sure that you bundle up in lots of layers. So negative temps coming. Gotta love winter. Anyway, God bless you all. Love you. Take care. Bye.